Welcome back to the Krown crypto channel. Wishing you a happy and healthy start on this nice sunny Thursday morning. Thursday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. Plenty to talk about today as Bitcoin coughs up the short-term time frame rally, of which that's going to really play into the chart of the day. And there is one chart that I have very strong opinions on right now. So we'll be talking about that, and then we'll also go over the lower term time frames as well. And with that said, I think there is, yes. The premium features are now live on the Krown Chain application. You can find more about them in the link in the description below, and then the Learn More tab right here. Basically gives you more faster data feeds to the underlying market dynamics, and also acts to the Jewel Light indicator. And more importantly, or perhaps what I want to really highlight, is the newsletter written by my man, Mr. Roger, who is he's amazing. Anyways, we'll start it off with the chart of the day, then we'll get into the chart that I'm probably most confident on, and then the short-term we'll go chart of the day, then short-term time frames, then best chart, or the most obvious chart, let's say. Anyways, go over here. We're going to start off with the 5-day for stochastic momentum. This would be the chart of the day, not closing today, but actually tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So we got about 41 hours from now until resolution of this. You'll notice that stochastic momentum on the 5-day has been incredibly accurate in the past and getting the extreme moves from both the upside and the downside in these critical territories. And then more importantly, we can see that Bitcoin is pivoted right around a major, pivoted on price around a major, resolution here at about 39,500. The reason why this is important is because if we do see Bitcoin close above 39,500 tomorrow for basically the weekly, for CME that is, then we will see 5-day stochastic momentum not reject, but accept getting out of the bearish control zone, crossing back up, getting out of the bearish control zone for the first time since December of last year. That's December of last year right here, where a lot of, I want to go back to the regular chart right here, but where a lot of this major downside emerged from. That was basically when Bitcoin was well above $50,000 and came all the way down to our current lows in the mid $30,000 territory. If Bitcoin does do that, that would be significant for the long term, not necessarily for the short term, but it would essentially keep the Bull's hopiums alive. Still, however, the big thing for me to validate major upside continuation towards a targeted region of $55,000 to $56,000, very likely with stop along the way as well, would be, of course, a daily closure no less above $44,500. If that does happen, I am looking for that move to happen for several reasons. One of them being it would be our second weekly higher low right here, alongside weekly momentum, also remained to the upside, by the way. And then, of course, we go over here, giving away my major chart, my other chart that I'm massively looking forward to. We would also confirm 2 drives of hidden bullish evidence on the weekly. Right now, it is not there. If Bitcoin does close this week above about 41 to maybe 41,500, then that will be confirmed as well, and that'll also increase the probabilities that we do see that upside resolution. Until then, this is all a possibility, but certainly does await confirmation. Just kind of keeps the Bull's hopes alive, and also based off assumed that we do get that next drive of hidden bullish evidence, which is not there right now. Again, won't be there unless Bitcoin closes above about 41.5 or so. Then that would also have a target somewhere right around about $52,000. On top of that, or should I go a little bit more into the Bull's case? Maybe not. Maybe not just yet, but that would essentially keep the hopes alive, and that would be the validation for the next major continuation to the upside. For the downside, it's the same thing as well. Below 36,500, I do consider this whole formation a continuation formation with targets back down. Ultimately to the macro range lows, that being between about $29,500 to $31,000, with very likely a stop along the way at about $34,500 to $35,000. But for right now, let's now briefly go into the short-term timeframes. This is something that I got wrong yesterday, actually. I always want to be very forthright with this because, I was looking at a validation for continuation condition to be met with a full hour closure above about $42,000 towards our range highs, which would have been, between about, what is this area right here? Basically $44,000 to $45,000. That was met, but I got this wrong, and I got this wrong pretty damn cleanly. I should have known better on this one. Should have used about 42,700 as a validation condition for upside continuation. That was, my bad. Of course, it's been a pretty damn good last couple of weeks, if I do say so myself. Just trying to make myself feel better on that one, but hey, I did get that one wrong. Anyways, more importantly, the downside validation condition was hit in this case, and those targets have emerged from that region. So what does that mean for the short-term timeframes now if we're going to give it another go? And basically, let's go back to the chart that we were working off of was it this one? I think it was this one actually. Yeah, we can use this one. It's going to be fine anyways. Actually would be looking for a short-term bounce on Bitcoin right here on the hourly. Anywhere back around the 0.5 at 39,800 or 39,900 is fair game. Doesn't really do anything for the short-term time frame trend. But why am I essentially looking for that? Well, we do see that volatility on all lower-term time frames for the hourly, 2-hour, 3-hour, and 4-hour are kind of working off extremes here. And as I go into a contraction phase, I'm looking for a little bit of a bouncy bounce. Which can come back up to those regions. But specifically, I would highlight this region right here, the 618 at 40,500. If I do see Bitcoin start to close lower term timeframes above there, especially like a 4-hour, I would confirm this area right here as a local low. And if it's going to be a local low, probably going to look something like this little LARP line right here, plopping back up, spends a little bit of time kind of grinding this area out and then gives a bit of a rally, maybe around the time that U.S. markets open up later today, something like that, or perhaps more around the daily closure, something like that, however, would look okay. And if that validation did happen above 40,500, then I actually would say that this is confirmed as your next higher low and very likely going to retest the highs yesterday and very likely going to push through those highs as well and test again that same area that we're looking for based upon those validation conditions at $44,000 to $45,000. I actually do think that is probably does or could very easily work out in that way. Until then, however, any bounce that fails to get back above 40,500, again this area right here. This area right here is what I'm saying, is just another lower high and very likely does lead towards short-term continuation to the downside. In this case, looking somewhere down around about 37 to basically 37, give or take a few $100 from that targeted region. I would also validate downside continuation before a bounce if we do see an hourly closure below about 38,500. That would also do it for me as well, targeting again another run at this blue box territory right here. And of course, the reason why that would be relevant is that we would see not just a test down around there, but it would be very close to the downside resolution of this formation as a total, which again is 36,500. Bounces will be along the way, obviously, but I would ultimately be looking in the following weeks for a move towards basically around $30,000. Okay, so we've got that. And then one last thing while we are here, another clean and quick chart, both for the upside and the downside. Kind of my worst case scenario for Bitcoin price action, if it were to happen, would be somewhere around the 55 on the monthly, simply because we've had a very relevant historical signal here with the monthly MACD crossing the downside, mediated then by the PMAR below the moving average. And then most importantly, as after those two signals are validated, the price validating below the white 20 simple on this time frame right here, or sorry, on this chart right here, has initiated every time a move down to the green 55 in the following like half year. So you can see that right here in 2015, you can see that right here in 2018, 2020, of course. And right now we do have the first two conditions met, yes, but we have not seen a closure below the white 20 simple. And again, this is operating on a closing basis, so it doesn't mean that we can't see a wick further down than that, but I'd say, on a closing basis, probably finds its low somewhere around $25,000. By the same token, there's actually something that is on the other side of this chart that is, a point for the boo laws, if anything, and that would be the Trollinger bands here as they collapse on the monthly. So intuitively, you know that when the Trollinger bands open up, that's during very, very volatile price action. That's what you expect during a parabolic blow off tops and their catastrophic, crumbling moves to the downside. So you see this over here in 2012, you see this over here in 2014 and 2017, 2018, and more recently in 2021. And then more importantly, as the Trollinger bands start to collapse on each other, so I'm talking about this area right here and this area right here, for example, the lows are already well in for Bitcoin as they go into a contraction phase. You see the same thing over here in 2018. And guess what? Things have already started to contract quite a fair bit into 2022 as well. So in all of these instances, the lows have already been in as the Trollinger band start to flatten out quite a fair bit and lose that curvature. I would not say we're there just yet on this one. If it starts to flatten out like this, for example, if it goes like that and takes a bigger turn, that's at the point where historically, very, very likely the lows are probably in. But for right now, it's definitely a potential, and I figure worth knowing. All right, the last thing we'll talk about today is just a very clean and obvious chart. There's one thing that, hey, god damn it. There's one thing that I feel very confident on this market, and that is that Bitcoin dominance will put in a, or is putting in a major low right here and is working its way upwards and onwards over the next probably 4 to 6 months. I do imagine by end of year, this one's going to be in the mid 50% regions. And why am I essentially looking for this? Well, we do see that extremes are hit on monthly BBWP. We're going into contraction phase right here. We're coming off of historical long-term macro support going all the way back to January of 2018. And we do have a technical formation, which typically a continuation formation, but in this case, we are starting to see activity, especially off the lows with these many drives of bullish divergence, suggesting that, this one probably does end up being a reversal formation, which will be confirmed above about 46.75%. And very likely initiates targets much higher. So I think I'll kind of leave it right there. That was, oh yeah, and then we have a few things over here. There's one major thing I want to be aware of. For the global open interest, we saw it get up to just above 11 billion yesterday. And more importantly, right now, after this last move to the downside, we've seen it come down to about 10.34 billion with a B, that is. And with that in mind, we've seen over the last few months here, going back to December, all of these lows before these nice rallies have been coming in right around about 10 billion, a little bit lower each and every time. So what I've done is I've gone over here into the alerts tab, which you can do yourself, by the way, for free on the Krown trading application. And I've set in another alert for under 10 billion, somewhere between there and 9 billion is kind of where I'm looking for if things do catastrophically fall down again before the next sort of tradable, probably decent size bounce. Until then, I should also denote that the funny rates on the hourly are actually the highest that we've seen them in a long time at 0.01%. That is essentially parity, but within the context of a downtrend, a little bit more on the bear side. Obviously, fear and greed index is going to be printing in some extreme fears. But ultimately, nothing trumps price action in this particular case, or in most cases, in my opinion. So I think I'll just kind of leave it right there. And just, maybe another subtle reminder that, I've seen this all across the cryptocurrency lands recently, in the sense that, every fucking 5% move to the upside, people get absolutely crazy. Every 5% move to the downside, or 2% move to the downside, people get absolutely crazy as well. What's been happening here in the last two months, going back to January, Bitcoin's been sideways, basically sideways within a range. I mean, that's basically been it. And that's really the crux of most analyses, is that, look, a lot of people are looking to create content, with very clickbaity, very emotionally driven headlines, and fair enough, that's the YouTube game, can't get mad at that. But do understand that is, very much different than the reality of the situation here, which is we're looking at a sideways range. Yeah, in that range, we do have a few higher lows. Still, though, until Bitcoin breaks above $45,000, in my experience, not wise to be calling a major reversal. There are certainly many signals potentially coming into place in the next, half week here that can play into that. But at the end of the day, 45,000 bucks the upside, good. 36,000 and a half to the downside, bad from a bullish perspective. Obviously, we don't really care on this channel. We're traders, but just easier when things are generally bullish for what it's worth as well. I'm gonna be signing off now. Want to wish you well. Take care, and until next time.